intimate look at the international refugee crisis as men, women, and children cross over European borders by the hundreds of thousands. Some of those countries are warning this evening they can't keep up. My Nightline co-anchor Dan Harris is on the ground where the realities of this worsening disaster are inescapable. Dan?
Byron, good evening to you from the port on the beautiful Greek island of Lesbos. Normally, this place would be filled with high-end tourists, but tonight it is packed with refugees. Thousands of them have gotten stranded here. This is a situation that has created anger, even violence, and over the past 36 hours, we have witnessed firsthand some extraordinary events unfolding here. We were right there today as refugees finished a perilous leg on their journey to freedom, packing these rickety illegal smuggling boats from Turkey and arriving here on the Greek island of Lesbos. This is just an incredible scene. These people, families, have just risked their lives, everything they own, everybody they love, to cross this narrow strait here to arrive here in Greece. The relief painted all over the faces of the parents. What's her name?
Her name is Fatima.
Fatima.
Yes.
Welcome to Greece, Fatima. These people have just taken a massive risk. A massive risk. People have died crossing this strait. I'm very glad you made it safely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Those who make it are met by volunteers like Hannah Louisa, who traveled from Denmark to hand out supplies and give basic medical attention. Why did you come here?
I just came because I needed to do something.
How would you describe this situation here?
Totally chaotic.
Chaotic, yes, but in these first few moments, also often jubilant. That initial elation evaporates for these new arrivals, however, when they realize they have a 30-mile walk in front of them in the searing heat. And then this. After making the hike, the refugees have been running into a bureaucratic blockade. The government here on this island of roughly 85,000 people has been unable to speedily process everyone, to give them their papers and send them along. These refugees, fleeing war and terror in places like Syria and Iraq, want to move on to mainland Greece and then up through to Germany, where they've seen those pictures of immigrants being warmly welcomed. But instead, they've been marooned here, running out of money and patience. There have been violent clashes with police. The situation here on Lesbos has created some bizarre contrasts. This idyllic island, a place where Aristotle once lived, now teeming with refugees. This quaint little city center would normally be filled with strolling summer tourists, but it is now, as you can see, utterly overrun by thousands and thousands of refugees living in tents with all of their worldly possessions, their children, and their hopes for the future. And the local government here is completely unprepared to deal with it. In a squalid camp, hastily set up on a disused go-kart track, we met many angry refugees, including this mother named Farwan, who told us she was trying to get her son to Germany for medical treatment. There's so much misery here. Everybody has a story. I mean, it is just stunning. We are on a paradise island in Europe.
Yeah.
And we are in a refugee camp.
Yeah. I've been doing it for 20 years, and I never thought I would be doing emergency response in Greece.
Kirk Day, an American who works for the International Rescue Committee, which helps refugees all over the world, says the source of the fury here has been that the rules for leaving seem to change constantly.
They are most upset about any delays associated with being able to get off the island.
Sure enough, as we're rolling, Kirk gets a phone call.
3 boats will be here tonight, and will run for 24 hours a day for the next several days to take all the refugees they can off the island. I think that's a capacity of 6,000 people.
Just hours later, we're on a soccer field that's been transformed into a sort of field of dreams. Officials have just set up an emergency processing center, which they say will run 24 hours a day until they can decongest this island. And it appears to be working.
I'm very touched. Extremely touched.
Alessandra Morelli works for the United Nations. To have people walk by and say thank you, that must be a meaningful moment.
I'm honestly extremely touched.
Wow, they're really celebrating.
Yes, thank God.
What is it like for you when you see that?
Don't make me cry.
And look at the tears that come when that mom we met earlier, Farwan, finally gets her papers to leave.
Thank you.
There really are no happy endings on Lesbos, though. As the newly processed refugees clamor to board the first boat out, it is bedlam.
This really is such a combustible mix of hope and chaos. So many people lined up clamoring to get on board this boat, and just a few officials trying to maintain some semblance of order. It is not easy, and it's entirely possible somebody could get crushed.
It is a stark reminder that these people are still facing a long and arduous journey ahead. Today, that first boatload arrived on the Greek mainland and started heading north, but they are heading toward a potential buzzsaw in the country of Hungary, whose leader has just announced that he wants to speed construction of a fence along the southern border. The world has truly been horrified by the images from Europe's refugee crisis. Families running through cornfields, scrambling under barbed wire, and penned into camps. And then there are the people turning a profit on all of this, like the smuggler in this video obtained by the BBC, discussing the sale of those dangerous little boats that refugees use to cross from Turkey into Greece. Critics say this refugee crisis is a slow-motion disaster that the global community, including the people in the White House, should have seen coming. After all, the war in Syria, which has displaced an estimated 11 million people, has been grinding on without resolution for years. Tonight, while Germany is actively resettling tens of thousands of immigrants, the UK and France are promising to step up as well. And the Obama administration now says it will boost its response, potentially accepting thousands of these refugees into America.
Everybody's moved by a sense of urgency here.
Something has to be done, and soon, because as we saw on the beach in Lesbos today, the desperate people, they just keep on coming.
Tonight, here at the port in Lesbos, it is still crowded, but much less chaotic. In the past day or so, they've managed to send thousands of refugees off the island. While that will ease the situation here, what it does is essentially move the problem up north. This crisis is far from over. Byron, back to you.
Dan, thank you for that report.